Greetings and salutations, fellow gamers. Lukey P here with another episode of Let's Play Supreme Ruler Ultimate with Brazil. It's been about 6 months since the last episode was recorded, so I thought it was worthwhile doing a quick update. I may well do this episode, I think, as a bit of a time-lapse episode, commenting on various things which occur as they happen. So for those of you keeping track of the series, the thing you may notice since last time, which is different, is the USSR doesn't exist anymore. We've swallowed that. In the end, when they surrendered, half of them unfortunately went to Germany, so this bit around here went to Germany. The way we finished them off in the end was at the end of last episode we had our units advancing kind of on a very big front. And the computer was controlling them because I turned on full initiative, and what I decided to do was I looked at what was being attacked in the middle, thought that's not really worth it, picked up a couple of hundred units I think I had there and just sent them towards the capital of the USSR, which was somewhere over here. That was it, I think. Novosibirsk, whatever that is, and yeah, we took that and they surrendered. So we've got the USSR territory now. We've also declared 2 very quick wars, so I basically picked up loads of my units from the north, redeployed them southwards to the border with India, and decided that whoever these 2 countries were, who were they? Nepal and Tibet, was that really who they were? Bhutan it was, yeah, Bhutan and Nepal. I took out, so I now have a nice wide land border with India. And I'm just building some kind of roads and supply depots along the way to basically get ready to invade. I'm probably going to station a massive force here and try and do a kind of shock and awe strike into New Delhi and see if that prompts them to surrender. I'm after them mainly for their 400 million of population. Their treasuries, I mean, it's nice, but look at ours. What else is there to say? I'm going to comment on that little blob of the US in a minute. Let's just do an update on the war in Africa. So I declared war on Angola and yeah, killed them basically. I've got some troops loaded up here who I'm getting ready. I'm planning to start a naval invasion of one of the countries up here. I haven't decided who yet, probably Senegal, given I've got 95% war justification towards them. Plan would be land, take this, make this our base in North Africa or kind of West Africa, use it to jump on a few of these countries, see if fishy West Africa gets made independent at some point, take out Sudan, and just kind of build that up as a supply area, and there's a bunch more military production capability in there to take that part of Africa. So from here we can basically spread upwards and take here, and from this base here we will look to take that region. The thing to be worried about right now from a gameplay perspective is there are 2 big powers in the world. One is Germany and one is America. And while Germany has more population, it is currently getting thrashed. So I noticed the Americans have made kind of some landfall around here in the Middle East. And before I knew it, Iran was gone. Was it Iran or was it Iraq? They conquered something anyway, basically, and drove the drove the Germans out of the Middle East, and they are now driving them back and pushing into Europe. And my real worry is if something doesn't stop them soon, they may be the ones who end up in this, you know, if they take Berlin, they then have all of Europe and the US. So Europe is heavily industrialized, and they're starting to get into the heavily industrialized part of it. So my plan at the moment is to try and take India pretty rapidly, but I'm also conscious I may need to declare war on the US, and I may need to do it sooner than expected so that they don't take Germany. So I'm pretty confident I can beat Germany in a war at the moment. The issue will be the supply lines are terrible across the old USSR. That's a well-known problem, I think, for other people who I've seen do Let's Play series, and often you do tend to go through the Middle East to get to Germany that way, rather than trying to build a load of supply depots and get to it that way. But I'm pretty confident that in a straight fight I could take Germany, because quite frankly they seem to have stalled in terms of expansion. They have been more or less the same size for a long time. They didn't manage to finish off Russia. That was left to us. They haven't managed to take Turkey despite being at war with them for many years. And so my concern is that actually it's the US who may be our main threat. And so what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to start building a lot of military production capacity up here, a lot of naval production, and basically start spamming production abilities in northern Brazil, with a mind to driving up through Central America and into America proper, if nothing else to distract them from trying to conquer Europe, and also because it may be that a lot of their units are actually over here in Europe. And what I think I should actually do is probably send in some spies to see what's going on around here, because there's no reason I shouldn't be able to have spies. I don't think Germany and the US will appreciate it, but the US quite frankly hate me anyway, and I think Germany are going to need me too much to supply them with any goods to have a chance of beating the US. So yeah, so that's where we are. We'll probably declare war on India shortly, and yeah, I think that's probably all for this quick update. I'll try and keep these quite short, so that's been about 8 or 9 minutes I think, and I will be back when I have something else to update on. Welcome back. A little bit more time has passed. Thought it was about time for a quick update. So one thing I have just discovered, which is a bit of a surprise and must have come in with a patch update. So I had hundreds of these, I think, which were inactive, and what it turns out that looks to be happening is when things are inactive, they now degrade. This must be a new update. So for example, around here I've got all these rubber plantations which before had 6 rubber on and have now got 0 on, and I found that out as I was looking around to see what was going on with my rubber production. So suffice to say, that's a little bit of a nasty change for us. So a lot of stuff I captured in China I was planning on basically turning on as and when I needed it, and I've now somewhat revised my game plan, and so how I've done that is I basically went to theatre control and told it to enable structure auto repair. That has absolutely crippled my industrial goods use. This is quite good now. It was up at 500,000 at one stage. So I basically stuck up the buyers needed up to like 30,000, so 5,000 more than what I need, and basically I've been dropping a huge sum of money into buying goods. I thought that was going to be going to the US, but it doesn't look like it is. I also started selling a little bit of oil again to Germany, which is mainly because they keep running out, and I would rather like them to be able to fight off the US to some extent, because I'm worried at the speed the US is advancing. I think they are going to take Europe. So we've gone to war with India. I didn't really have all my units out ready and deployed. There was one place over here which actually had 200 units in reserve, which is interesting. 273 units I think they had in reserve at one point. So I'm basically marshalling these guys out and doing a bit more manually on the war than I would do. I'm not quite sure where all my artillery's gone. I think they may be all in reserves, and they may come out of reserves towards the end, unfortunately. So if I have a look at reserve units, yeah, there's loads of them there. Let's get some of them out, hopefully. So yeah, we're having to deploy these guys kind of manually as we go, to get them deploying quickly, which is a bit of a pain. And we're limited by the fact you can only deploy 10, I think, on only one hex. So I'm basically deploying them, sending them out, pausing the game, deploying them again, sending them out, pausing the game, which is a bit rubbish, but it's what we've got to do at the moment. So all these guys around Kathmandu, why don't you go and take that? We're just trying to basically hit India at so many points along the front that they can't cope. That's the plan anyway. So this is another whole bunch of units. You should go and take that until the computer's group control kicks in. So you can see I've put Delhi as a high priority and a high military focus. Hopefully that will divert some units there. And then over in North Africa, I am about ready to declare war on these guys who are Senegal. So I have 94% war justification, so away we go. So how do I get you guys to unload? There we go. Oakley dokley, so go and take that place. They do not appear to have any units. This, I would like to suggest, is a problem for them. I mean, let's just... That is pretty bad. If they've literally got no units, I'm not sure I've ever seen... not even garrisons. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. We can scrap all of this because we don't need it. Let's see how many minutes before they surrender. Before we run out of supplies, probably more likely. Okay, so that's their new capital, so we can take that. Well, we've started losing some units. 9th infantry. Didn't even know we had infantry units still able to move around. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me we're losing 1 or 2, but I think we can afford this where India simply cannot. Let's try and get our infantry in there. So with our new knowledge of how this game works, we're going to have to focus a little bit more on rebuilding as we go, unfortunately, which will make this even slower. Okay, so I think that's it for this update. So you can see what we're trying to do, which is we're trying to thrust en masse in 3 kind of big pushes into India. That's a nice little hub. It's got a pier, a barracks and an air base, so everything is good there. So yeah, we're trying to thrust. There are kind of, I guess, 4 waves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one there. This is actually the bulk of our forces. So this is the one where we had 300 units somehow sitting in reserves. We could do with getting an air force, a bunch of condors over there, really. Question is, where are my condors? There are a couple. Yeah, so I will do this off camera. So just in terms of tactics, what I'm trying to do is get condors based here to keep these guys supplied so they can fly over and resupply people and stop them grinding to a halt. Okay, we'll take a little break there and I'll be back again with another update soon. Welcome back, fellow gamers. A quick update. You can see our thrusts into India have, I think after about a month or so of playing, possibly even less, they've started to link up. So the thrust in from this side is meeting the main thrust down there. This front have taken Patna, which we will scrap what we don't need, which is largely power plants. Our supply should be alright because we're capturing Indian towns as we go, which is great. And one of the reasons I wanted to do a very quick update was it's just brilliant to see the scale of units I'm able to deploy compared with the start of the game. We're building a nuclear bomb as well. Well, that's pretty cool. So yeah, compared with the start of the game, we have nearly 3,000 land units deployed, nearly 4 million men under arms, most of which seem to be bearing down on poor India. And literally when I unpause this, the number of explosions will just go nuts because we are decimating India's garrisons. So we've lost some units, don't get me wrong, but we've lost what you can see on a... So we started the war on the 22nd of June. In 20 days we've taken a large chunk of their country, at least in the north, and I think we've lost what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think we're into double figures for the number of units we've lost yet. That is how outmatched they are. And we're going to lose a bunch trying to take their capital, of course, but we need to look at the scale of damage being inflicted on these guys. We're starting to lose some around this area, but yeah, these guys don't have a chance. just completely outmatched here, unfortunately for them, but fortunately for us. You can see over here our forces are linking up and finishing off various pockets of leftover resistance in various parts of the land. I think they're trying to retreat. I think they basically abandoned their capital there.
We took their capital.
There we go. Delhi's gone. Relocated to Calcutta, which is what I hoped, because guess where our main thrust of units are going. So yeah, that is pretty devastating as a war. I don't think India will last much more. Ironically, Senegal have probably got a better chance of lasting longer, purely because the supply's so rubbish. It's taken us a little while to get to various parts of Senegal. Barracks, a couple of supply depots, and then you guys see if you can move on there with your supplies. Snip over here. See if Calcutta's going to survive. It won't. I should really send in some of the Air Force just for fun, I guess. We got over here, let's just send some of those in. Keep those troops supplied. Let's send those in and bomb something, just because we can.
We took their capital.
Say this isn't going well for them would be a bit of an understatement. So all those little pings are units being taken, I think. Just turn that back down to low. Where have they relocated their capital? Oh, right in the south. Delightful. Okay, well, just keep pushing on and taking everything basically. Our next target. Pushing down from Calcutta towards their new capital down in the south. Okay, I think we'll stop that little bit of the update here. I mean, you can see the scale of what we're able to throw at India now, and just the scale of our forces. We're starting to, we're getting a lot of land production set up here as well, ready to take on the US as and when we need to. Which, given the speed at which Germany look like they're struggling, we may take India and then bounce into a war with the US, look to cut them off here in the Middle East, and then see if we can't take them in their homeland. But we've got to be careful because so many of our units are over in Asia, not in South America. But yeah, we'll wrap this little update there, and I will be back again with something relatively soon. Welcome back. So another quick update on what's going on. So our units have taken most of most of India rather, and you can see they are basically converging on quite a small area now where India's remaining capital is. We want to sweep across here as well and get some of these areas. Our main concern at the moment is Germany is losing the war with the US. So we've got some spies out just to see what's going on. I'm really surprised how few units the Germans have. So they have 3.4, the US have 4.6 million. So a lot of those will be in garrisons. We are way ahead with 4.7 now, and simply a massive build capacity, many times that of even the US. So odds are, I'm going to look to attack the US soon, if nothing else to stop them winning a decisive victory over Germany, which will then present me with a difficult challenge. So a lot of our units have diverted themselves to India and the Indochina region to help with the war there. We've got a little war going on in Africa, which is just a slow grind because of the lack of supply. So we took whoever this was, Senegal. We're in the process of taking the Sudan, and then we'll build up the supply around the country, because as you can see the supply is pretty much non-existent, and we rely on supply to bring our superior military numbers to bear, like we've done here with India. So that's it for this update. I'll be back again soon. Welcome back. So as you can see, we have just conquered India, so we will choose to annex India, which gives us all of that. I don't know how Germany managed this. So Germany at war with India, they don't even have a land border with them. So instead of me now being right up to the border with the US, I instead have this chunk of German territory smack bang in the middle of where I want to attack, which is just phenomenally annoying. I don't want to do a deal with Germany, particularly for military access. We may have to. We have been provoking these guys. We got 65% war justification. Let's just go to war with them, because that would just basically pick up my units here, which were beating India to smithereens, and take Afghanistan. Hopefully they're not at war. No, they're not at war with anyone else. So when they fall, I will have a land border with this part of the US. I can look to invade them there. Yeah, they're getting worryingly close. I may jump the US very soon in terms of declaring war on them. But that is the end of this episode. So we've recorded it in a number of parts. We did that simply because there wasn't much to see really. It was just my units rolling forward endlessly and stomping India, because simply they can't field an army which matches ours, and in fact I don't think anyone can now. So if I was to look at the atlas, let's just have a look at military score out of interest. So somehow Italy and Libya are beating us. Well, yeah. Total army staff, so we are ahead of the US, and we have just way more ability to produce than them. yeah, not much else to say. So we've built up a number of land production units in this part of the country, ready to take it to the US in this area. We are slowly conquering the Sudan, which is happening in the background, but as I mentioned, and classic problems from earlier on in the series as well, supply. So even though we have units and they basically have none, I'm not even sure they fielded garrisons against us so far, but our units simply run out of supplies, and in due course I'm sure one of these air production units will get a transport plane out, and we can base it here and keep them supplied. Or if I wanted to, and I had the need to, I could bring out one of our aircraft carriers, station that off the coast with a bunch of supply planes, and fly them into this country and use them to help resupply. But we don't need to. There's no real danger or threat from the war in Africa. It's more of an interesting side note. On our economy, I was losing money for part of this episode. We're now back to where we were before, and what was happening is where I turned on when I realised that I was losing all my rubber production, because my things which had been kind of around here, and massive amounts of rubber production which disappeared because I hadn't rebuilt them, and they'd basically disappeared with age. I turned on auto repair in various theatres, which you do by doing that. For people following the last episode, had a massive impact on my industrial goods demand, and we were running a large deficit for a time. What then happened is I now have so much capacity on pretty much everything that basically I have to throttle back what I produce, because if I produced all that capacity of consumer goods and all that capacity of industrial goods and all that capacity of military goods, it would mean that my production costs are way more than my production income. So by throttling them back, I've been able to restore my economy to parity. Not that it massively matters with the amount of money we've got in the bank. The only thing to comment which I found a bit annoying is industrial controls. The percentage of demand doesn't seem to work properly. Certainly not on this, so I've had to play a little bit around. I was using 65% of capacity and 101% of demand, so that's something to look out for. I set it to 101% of demand, and sometimes it was way up and sometimes it was way down. It seems to be somehow the capacity here, which sits behind industry output, actually seems to tally with the demand. So that's something just to watch out for anyone playing along themselves. But we will wrap this episode there. So India and its 400 or so million people have been added, so we've now got 1.5 million of population. So we are we're massive. We are bigger than both the US and Germany put together. So in terms of population being power, which was something I said at the start of the very start of the game, I think we've achieved what we wanted to achieve, and I think from here it's probably going to be relatively straightforward. I hope to get a world conquest. It's just a case of fighting really slow wars, and the only big war I think we've got left realistically is versus the US. I think Germany in getting thumped quite emphatically here by the US has shown it's actually a lot weaker than it looks to be. I'm sure as they get near to Berlin they'll encounter more resistance, the Americans, but they're already into Poland, which is near the German front line really, and they've taken a lot of the land in the east which Germany itself took. So we'll see. Be an interesting next few episodes, I think, in terms of what I decide to do and at what point I decide to go to war with the US. But we will wrap it there. Any comments, please let me know below the video, particularly if you've got any comments about this kind of multi-part episode I've been doing, where I stop recording and play a bit and then come back with an update, which I try to keep a bit short, just to give an update on progress. If you've liked, please do like. If you've really liked, please do subscribe to my channel. I do appreciate it. I'm Lukey P. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you again soon.